Okay, we'll start the meeting at 7:01. Waiting for Lynn. I think Lynn just came on. Are you there, Lynn? Well, Lynn was on and now she's off. I don't know.
Recording.
Can you see me?
Yeah, there you are.
There you are.
Okay. You ready for me to put up the presentation?
Yeah, you won't let me make you the co-host.
You ready?
Okay,
Here we go. The agenda for tonight. Oh, sorry, went by too fast. My computer's a little tricky. I have too many things open tonight. First on the agenda is the administrative actions for the public safety building. We have the review of the June 16th Permanent Building Committee meeting minutes that should have been in your packet.
One quick comment first, Lynn. Joe, do you want to have any public participation?
oh, sorry, you're right. Is there anybody who wishes to engage in public participation? Hearing none. Okay, Lynn. Right, yep.
I move that we approve the minutes of June 16th as written.
Anybody second it?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, is there any opposition to approving the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved.
Next on the agenda is approval of the June 2022 invoices. We have Leftfield's invoice for number 18 for $18,500.
Yep. I'll charge through them. I move that we approve Leftfield's owner OPM invoice number 20 dated 6/30 for $18,500.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I approve as well. I don't know, did I miss anyone on the PBC? Nope. Okay.
I move that we approve HKT Architects invoice number 18-022023 dated 7/8 for the sum of $19,042.27.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
I approve.
I move that we approve HKT Architects 18-022023 amendment number 2 dated also 7/8/22 for the sum of $9,190.50.
Second.
Any discussion? Lynn, what was the amendment for?
The amendment, the next we have on the, the amendment was a while ago when we had additional geothermal.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry.
Not
That's just, they're just catching up on the billing.
geotech,
Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't think there was anything in the past month. Okay,
Geotech, geoenvironmental.
Geotech, geoenvironmental.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Anna. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Janine,
yes,
John?
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
motion's approved.
I move that we approve bond building invoice number 6 dated 6/30/22 for the sum of $739,439.42.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Janine,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
and I approve as well. Motion carries.
I move that we approve Briggs Engineering invoice 0221471 dated 6/25 for the sum of $3,264.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Janine,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
and Mark,
Yes.
and I approve. Motion is allowed. All right, Lynn?
Okay, next on the agenda is approval of bonds construction change order number 5. The total, there were 4 PCOs. 2 of them were attributed to the GMP contingency, which is why they're noted as $0, and 2 are for are that part of what we are pulling from the owner's construction contingency. So the total of change order number 5 is $5,554.
So I move that we approve change order number 5 for the sum of $5,554.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Janine,
yes,
John?
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Motion's allowed.
Next on the agenda is an update of the budget. All of the approvals that you just approved have been indicated on the budget as commitments or transfers. We've committed 94% of the budget and expended 27% of our remaining contingencies. On the owner side, we have $265,012 in construction contingency, and in the owner's contingency, we have $115,932 for $380,944 in contingencies.
So when, Lynn, can you just, I get a brain cramp every time on these. Those are both our contingencies, right?
Yes, that's not the contingency within the GMP.
And how much do we have left in the contingency in the GMP?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. Do you?
I have it, Lynn.
David?
Yep, I got it. It's 291,527.
Okay, thank you.
And Lynn?
Yes,
Can you
Hold
just-
tight to that, Dave.
Yeah, yeah. No, he can spend all that.
Yeah, but up through the end, we have to hold tight on ours.
Yes, right. We're not spending ours. That's what I'm saying.
I'll do my best to give you $1 back, Chip.
That's all I want. I want one.
Lynn, can you just describe just for the committee the differences between the construction contingency and the owner's contingency and what things fit into each?
yes, we typically split the contingencies on the owner side. We only draw out of the construction contingency for things related to the construction contingency unless we get down to the end and need more and we have money left in the owner's contingency. But typically we like to utilize the construction contingency for construction related only items. The owner's contingency is any amendments or added scope that we need on the designer and the OPM and the owner side. You know, for example, the amendment 2 for the geotech and geoenvironmental came out of owner's contingency. Also, the reimbursable expenses for bidding and things like that, that you see up in the authorized changes categories under the OPM or designer.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions regarding the budget update? Hearing none, Lynn?
Next on the agenda is the dedication plaque. This made the rounds. I took everybody's comments and added them in. I was told that this is the new logo for the town, so we've added that in. I guess the things that are I think we need to talk about is I could not get through to Nassau's Phillips to get either his actual first name or a middle initial. I tried both email and cell phone, and Sherry had told me that they have an obligation if they're going to remain on the building committee to make so many meetings. And I think we've only seen him once or twice. So I don't know if he's actually still on the building committee or not. So I just wanted to pose that to you as to whether or not he remains on this dedication plaque or not. And then also size, what size are you looking for? And if you have an idea of that, then we can kind of proportion it to whatever size you want it to be.
Do we have a spot for this, Lynn? Because I think that would be an HKT question.
Right. Not to my knowledge at this point. Adam, do you know, have you seen anything on the plans or talked about it on site about where it might be located?
The last one was in the lobby.
There's
and,
several of them in that lobby, right?
Yeah, there's not as much wall space as there used to be, and I don't know exactly how that art goes, but that would be my best guess.
And then do we keep the original one?
It's the original one is pretty big. It's at least 2 foot by 3 foot bronze, very heavy.
Right, my question is, I mean, these are 2 different projects. Certainly, this is more police oriented. The other one was more fire oriented. I guess I'd want HKT's input as to whether we keep both, and if so, where do they go? And how are they laying out the lobby? That would be up to, I think that would be in their purview and should be in their contract.
Did we change the title to something like renovations and additions or something to distinguish it from the other?
Correct.
And if they were together, you would probably make it the same material, which is bronze.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's put that back on them for a little bit.
You bet.
They're doing the front lobby and what it's going to look like.
I'll talk
The
to
other-
there's Janet.
But Joe,
Yep.
can you research NASA Phillips and find out from somebody if
I'm
he's
gonna have
even
to find
still
out.
on the committee?
I'm looking at him on LinkedIn, and I don't see a middle initial, but
Well, not only that, he has not appeared in the last several meetings. And personally, I think if you don't appear, if you don't want to be a member of the committee, your name isn't on the plaque.
Correct. You have to have some input.
Yeah.
Can we make a motion about that?
No, town council.
Yeah, we'll have to make it officially through town council. I'll talk to Mr. Mayo.
Mr. Chimes has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
I see it.
I just wanted to point out the abandonment bylaw that was passed a few years ago does specify 5 consecutive meetings of non-attendance as the criteria where someone would be dropped off the committee. I don't know what Mr. Phillips' attendance has been, but that 5 number is the threshold.
And Jonathan, is it automatic?
It is actually automatic. The only boards where the town council would approve would remove someone are ZBA and Conservation Commission. Otherwise,
We
it
can have a
is
motion on
automatic.
that one for one member of the ZBA. That's a whole nother story.
But yeah, otherwise it is automatic. So again, if he has not attended 5 consecutive meetings, my suggestion would be you could probably remove him.
Jonathan, I have a question.
Mhm.
When we do the PBC meeting and we do public safety and we do high school, is that 2 meetings or 1?
That would be a Tom Mullen question.
Come on, Jonathan, jump in with both feet.
I would say as a non-lawyer and as not the town council SEL, I would say that's 1 meeting, but
Yeah,
that's a Tom
but
Mullen
he
question.
hasn't been here for the last 5, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But Lynn, can you just confirm that?
We'll check attendance, but I agree with Chip. I think it's been more than that as
I
well.
do too. I do too, but just confirm it, that's all.
I will.
And if that is the case, I suggest that he be removed.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thank
And it's
you.
automatic. I don't think we need a motion on it or anything like that because
No.
it occurs.
We should probably just then, I can do a note as secretary to just say that Mr. Phillips has missed X
Yeah.
meetings and just make town council and Steve aware of it.
I agree. All right? Are there any other discussion regarding the plaques? Hearing none. Lynn?
One last thing, I just wanted to note the change in July from the last calendar that I sent out. You should be able to print the page and the handout that I sent, just so you have an update. Right now, we are, I'm not sure that we'll need a July 28th meeting for the permanent building committee for the public safety building, but we do need it for the high school. So
Right, if there's anything that comes up, we can always put it in.
right, but for now, I will say that I don't think we'll need it for the public safety building unless anybody else has
Okay,
feels differently. Okay, and then for August, we want to target at least August 11th, and again, the 25th. We'll talk about that at the 11th meeting and decide whether we'll need the 25th for the public safety building. We're likely to need it for the high school. And then I'll turn it over to Bond to give a construction progress update.
thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. So just sort of general progress, the lobby work is progressing well towards a turnover around the end of August, and we're racing through that. These pictures represent the new entry to the lobby, the new vestibule. The lobby obviously provides the new home for dispatch and records, and that's sort of the first domino, as we would call it, to set up additional renovations that come beyond that and free up some swing space. These photos, that's more progress of the vestibule and the main entry into the lobby, and then the pile caps for the addition that are now being prepped for foundations. Interior photos of the ongoing lobby renovation work for records and dispatch areas, and more progress at the foundation for the addition. There's more progress throughout the building. You can see in the upper right corner, that's the new wall within the garage for the extension at the backside of the first phase area. It's now enclosed and being roughed in as well. Our goal is to have drywall completed and taped within the next couple of weeks, and then start on finishes working towards that end of August turnover of the first phase. Looking forward a bit, we're hoping to get steel completed at the addition within the next month. So by the end of August for sure, we'll have the steel up and we'll be starting the ongoing work beyond that. As I said, we'll have the drywall complete in the lobby with finishes well underway. And at that point, the new vestibule roof will be done. The permanent finish slab should be installed with the masonry getting wrapped up to getting ready to put in the windows and finishes in the vestibule entry as well. That's kind of the look ahead for the next several weeks. We're just trying to race towards that first phase turnover.
Is there any questions or discussion, comments for Bond?
I guess my comment would be, and for Dave, I'm not sure if, if you're planning on finishes in the front lobby and things like the dedication. We just got to make sure that HKT has allocated space for all these things going back up, and that we know what the finish is. Because when we open, we want to be open with, pamphlets in the right place and this holder and that holder where it needs to be. And I just haven't seen a finish schedule for that space yet.
Agreed. We've been discussing it for several weeks. We have answers on a lot of it.
Okay.
We did discuss the dedication plaque. I don't think we've got a final location for that. We do, based on the timing for getting it fabricated, they tend to be very long lead. I was suggesting that we do a temporary version for the first turnover. Bronze plaque can take an eternity to get.
Yeah, or we just have the space and it goes up when the building's done.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I don't think unless somebody else is more inclined to.
Whatever you prefer. Yeah, if it was important to anyone, we can get a pretty inexpensive mock-up of it.
I don't want to spend money on a mock-up.
I don't either.
Personally.
I don't think we need it.
Cardboard with my name on it's okay.
Yeah, I could have my girls make one up. And
It would be perfect.
Yeah.
Pick a color, any color that Crayola makes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been being discussed. There's a lot of information being passed back and forth, and as things coming up, we're trying to get information to finalize locations for various items, but it has been discussed.
Thank you. Any other discussion, questions, comments? Okay, thanks, Dave. Lynn?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to change screens.
Okay, before you go, Chief Scory, Deputy Chief Calabrese, any questions, discussion, anything?
Oh, nothing. Just all good here. I'm good.
Okay,
All set, thanks, Joe.
thanks, Rick. All right, anybody else have any questions or comments regarding the public safety building? Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Dave. Take care.
Good night, Dave.
All right, Lynn?
Try this one more time. Can you see the Wakefield Memorial High School project screen?
I can.
Now I can. Yep.
Yeah.
Is it in slideshow or no?
Yes.
Okay,
It is, no, it's not in slideshow, sorry.
there you go.
There you go.
Awesome. All right.
I don't know what the difference is, so.
Apparently I don't either.
Notice, Joe, you didn't get asked.
Yeah. Well,
First up are administrative actions. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the frequently asked questions that were sent to us from the PAC, and talk a little bit about a chart that we put together to talk about ineligible costs.
Lynn,
Mhm.
I know you're good, and I know you're really good, but I don't think you've got tonight's minutes ready yet.
Okay.
Review of July 14th Permanent Building Committee meeting minutes.
Sorry
oh,
about that.
she'll have them done.
June 16th.
Yeah, as we speak.
I was jumping ahead. I'll modify that before we post it, but
All right, don't worry, yeah.
yeah, and then we're gonna go through a schematic design presentation or progress update from SMMA, and then talk about a few schedule things coming up. So first on the agenda is review of the June 16th Permanent Building Committee meeting as it relates to the Wakefield Memorial High School project.
I move that we approve the June 16th, 2022 Permanent Building Committee, School Building Committee meeting minutes as written.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. Is there any opposition to approving the minutes of the June 16th, 2022 Permanent Building Committee, School Building Committee minutes? None. I hear none. They're approved.
Next is the review of the June 2020 invoices. We have Left Field's invoice number 14 and SMMA's invoice 57032.
I move that we approve the Wakefield Left Field OPM feasibility study invoice number 14 dated 6/30/22 for $22,000.
second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
yes,
Janine,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes,
Mark,
Yes.
and I approve them as well. Motion carries.
I move that we approve SMMA's A&E feasibility study invoice number 0057032 dated 7/1 for $8,100.
second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
yes,
Janine,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chip.
Yes, with enthusiasm.
Yes, Phil's was not very enthusiastic. That'll be noted in the minutes.
I'm having mute issues tonight, sorry.
And Mark,
Yes.
and I approve them. Motion carries.
Okay, next on the agenda is just a quick review of the project budget. We have committed 82% of the feasibility study schematic design budget, and we have expended 48% to date, and we are in the second half of the feasibility study, the schematic design. So we're in good shape with the budget.
Any questions, discussion, or comments regarding the budget? Hearing none. Lynn?
Next is the frequently asked questions that we received from Andy Bray and Mike Scolo. We responded to them. I passed them back and forth with SMMA. I gave them to the leadership group as well. And this is currently where we stand. You have a copy of these in your meeting packet that you received. If you could take a look, if you have any comments, and if not, I think we're ready to pass it on to the PAC and see if it satisfies their needs and if they have any comment. Also, at some point, we would, once we're finalized with these, we'd like to post them onto the project website.
I guess my first comment, having looked at it in tonight's package, was in the next steps. What is schematic design? The only thing I would add to that, and maybe you're thinking about doing it in a calendar form other than answering it here, but would be to include dates of, the next step schematic design. When does it go to MSBA and that type of thing?
Okay, we do have a calendar on our website, but I think you are right. If somebody's just looking in that, we can put that timeline on there.
Just, yeah, this will be submitted to MSBA on this date. Because
Yeah,
it's
you're
tough for
just-
somebody to jump back and forth.
Right.
You just want key dates, right, Chip? You're
Key
just saying,
dates,
yeah,
August, June, July, the key dates, nothing too detailed. It's really next steps is where I thought there should be some.
More detail.
Just dates.
Okay. Once people have a chance to really dig into it and look at it, and I receive any comments back, are you okay for me to distribute it and post to the website? I'm asking this of the PBC.
Yes. Anybody have any objections to that?
Our chairman has spoken.
Joe, I got a question.
Yeah,
So-
go ahead. Yeah, I was getting, yep, go ahead.
No, it's okay. So I just noticed, Lynn, thanks for sending these on number 5. So if you go on the project website, you have to really know what you're looking for to find that design. And there is the 3D model that you can find. I just wonder if there should be a more upfront link to the design option on the web page. And then the other thing has to do with the matrix that we talked about. And you mentioned it being on the site, but it's probably still being prepared. So I would just caution not to post this until
Right,
that
yes.
is also posted, which I'm sure you know, but just throwing that out there as a note.
Okay.
And then my last thing was what Chip had mentioned. I thought we should have some dates somewhere just to give people some general idea of milestones, nothing too specific.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments that members of the group have regarding these FAQs? All right, if you,
Sorry,
Yeah,
Joe.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the only thing, and it's probably just an easy add into these, but anywhere where you're telling people to reference somewhere else on the site, if there's just a link to bring them there, you know, the things for the PSR and that might be helpful for people to navigate to.
Okay, we can definitely do that.
All right, thanks, John. Anyone else? As Lynn indicated, if you may not have something now, but if you have something in the next few days after you review it thoroughly, you may contact Lynn and submit any questions or comments to her, okay?
Thank you.
And is everybody all set with allowing Lynn to put it and distribute it and post it on the website?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Next is the information on ineligible spaces and resulting costs. I know that this has been a key point of discussion in the past. And so what we did do is we took the various categories of spaces, core academic spaces, special education, art and music, vocations and technology, health and physical education, media center, auditorium, drama, dining and food service, medical, administration and guidance, and custodial and maintenance. And we gave you a comparison of the existing square footage as opposed to the proposed square footage for the new building. And we provided the MSBA guidelines in terms of the square footage, the minimal square footages that they recommend for schools. And then in red, you'll see the variance between what we proposed and what MSBA guidelines are. We added, you've seen this slide before and probably a prettier presentation from MSBA where you saw the first 4 columns in the comment section. But we added the eligibility status as of this date, whether it was likely to be eligible, or ineligible. And from that, we also added the reason that MSBA gave us in their preferred schematic report review comments as to, you know, whether the space is eligible or ineligible. Then you'll see to the far right, you'll see that the costs for spaces that they definitely told us would be ineligible. And the costs come from adding this square footage into the MSBA's Form 3011, which is where we input all the costs that we've estimated for the project. And we take these ineligible costs and we input them into a matrix that's included on that form, and it spits out the costs that will be ineligible based on the square footages of these spaces. And the total of those that were ineligible totals $32,491,131. Out of the 66 plus 404 total gross square footage of ineligible space, we believe that we will be able to reduce that down to only 47,692 of ineligible square footage. And that's what represents this $32.5 million cost that the town will pay 100% for.
Lynn,
Yes?
just a couple of things. The first thing is the first two ones, the core academic space and the special ed, are likely eligible,
Yes,
but it's not been determined yet, correct?
correct.
So what happens if it's not eligible and there's an additional cost to the town? This doesn't look like it, you have it at zero. Should there be a?
Right. There's no way at this point to determine. I mean, we think that we've justified the additional square footage. They haven't told us yet that we have not justified it appropriately. We really won't know until closer to the end of schematic design whether or not they may pay for a portion of it or participate in a portion of it or all of it. It's no way of knowing at this point in time.
Right. Are we going to be publishing this?
I'm giving it to, I know that there has been a request to publish it. This is really hot off the press. I would consider this a draft form at this point.
Okay.
MSBA's only had a little, get the acronyms all mixed up. SMA has only had a few minutes to look at this themselves.
Okay, all right. So this is a draft. I'm just saying that maybe we ought to put in there somehow an asterisk or something, to be determined or whatever. Just think about that. And the
Okay.
only other thing,
It could be minimum, maximum type thing.
yeah. The only other thing, Lynn, on the left side, if the cost was derived from,
Yeah.
you missed an F. That's okay.
Okay.
We'll give you an F.
The other thing that I would just suggest if we go to publish this, I know what SF stands for. I'm not sure if you put this out to the public, there'd be, what is an eligible SF, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do think either that or you need a glossary of some point saying gross square footage is this, square footage is that. What is the Form 3011? We hear these things, but if you're putting this out to the public, their head would be swimming.
Right, and I can provide links so that they can see what it looks like. It's a very complicated form that calculates a lot of costs. This is just one small box.
Right.
In the whole form, but
So I just think we need, before we publish it or before we put it on the website, we just need to think about who's going to be looking at it. What information can they take from it, misconstrue it, come up with lies about it, and then put it back out there. So we gotta just make sure we're real clean.
Right, I wanted to get it in front of you only because there's been a lot of conversations about it. And I wanted to kind of explain a little bit about where it's coming from. It is.
And what's our total volume? What's right now, what's the number we're using for the bill for the total construction cost or total cost?
Total cost, we're using 220 million.
So 32 million out of 220 million is about 11%.
Oh, 15. I just did it. I'm like, I got it.
Good, I did it in my head. So you're better than me. Which, in all honesty, I don't think is too bad considering it. And the other thing I would think of is that the comment was that, all of these spaces are needed and necessary to perform the school's desire in education. We got to these are the spaces that this isn't just a random, oh, let's have a bigger gym. you know, I think there needs to be a preamble to it as some sort too, as to how did we get here?
Yeah, we tried to give an explanation of what you were getting, why it was over. And maybe we can explain that a little bit better as well, so.
Well, I'm just saying, we all know how we got there, right? This is, we've talked about it 1,000 times. You put this out on the website, it'd be like, people's heads
Right,
would be swimming.
Right, exactly. So yes, we can do some
We just
explanation.
got to think about how to make it presentable so that people really understand and can not misconstrue it without really trying.
Phil?
Hi, thanks for sending this. This is such an important document. We need to take our time with it and review it. So I'd love to have this. You said this is part of a form, but I'm going to guess that this info could just be put into a spreadsheet and sent as a file to us to look at more closely.
Yes.
I would definitely wait to post this, which would change one of the answers to the aforementioned responses to the PAC, which says that this matrix exists. So if you're going to send them back those answers, you may just want to change that answer that this is a pending document.
Okay.
Cost to town, anything cost, proposed, estimated, you have to put a qualification. We don't know that these are the costs. So in the title, and I really think, I don't know if there's like a social media person that works for SMMA or Left Field or someone, to Chip's last point about how to basically present this in a way that's user-friendly in the social media world in terms of quick info that can link to this more in depth, but how this is presented off the bat is so important. I 100% agree if this was posted as is. I'm not saying this is a bad document. We know what it is because we look at it. People's heads are going to roll, and then it's ripe for misinformation and just that. So I think this is great. This is so much needed based on the comments I'm continuing to hear around town, which is why, why are we building things bigger? And this is so important to show all the why. So I just want to make sure we have this right and how it's presented is done the best way, and we don't rush this out.
Wayne?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. I went to a retired men's club meeting. I'm not really retired, but in 2 days ago, and the guest speakers were Kim Smith, retired superintendent, and Ron Chabaro, the retired music theater director in the town. And they knew I was on the building committee, and they kind of pigeonholed me a little bit about the auditorium drama center, that they wanted something of equal or superior quality than what we have at the Galvin. I said I'd make the comment, and I know if this document goes out and they see the phys ed areas and the auditorium drama areas, and there's a big difference. And I'm trying to head off any. I told Kim I'd say something, and I guess I have. So I guess that's my comment. All right, thank you.
Thanks, man. Brian?
Just one quick suggestion in terms of the desire to disseminate, good, accurate information and maybe even more detailed information about each of the items, that it might be possible to reference a page number or a section number in the educational program, where I believe all of these items are discussed at length. And so for those interested in further reading about, why a certain stage size is needed, they can go to the document and read all about it. And you're not relying on the comment section to really explain it all. I think the comments are good and succinct, but I just think that link is also possible.
Great idea.
Phil?
Yeah, I was just gonna no one reads anything. No one wants to read. It's the truth. And I write letters and memos for a living and to communities, and people will tell me to my face, so I didn't have time to read it. So we just have to be, yes, we have to have those links 100%, but the upfront presentation of this really has to be, again, like social media, if that's a word. It really has to be presented in a way that people can read through it quickly. It's out there, and then all the links to the real information for the few that will read it.
All right, any other questions or comments regarding the,
I guess, can I ask, so I couldn't agree more, Phil. I think this is probably going to be the most important thing we release. And so does it make any sense to either have a small subgroup of you to help us to continue to work this over, or some deadlines for comments? Or again, I think it's going to be just like the design. It's going to take some iterations to make sure it's exactly right, or mostly right. So that's just something I'm wondering as I'm taking all of this in as well.
Yeah, Helen, I would say is when you get to that point that you want some eyes on it, we can critically send it to a few of us and take a look at it. People have made comments tonight, probably people more like Phil rather than myself, because it's his kids that are going through and it's his group that are going to be reading it. Wayne can look at it, I can look at it as far as the fixed income people, right? And how that all goes. But I think we can, as you get further, we can, yes, get a group together that can banter ideas back and forth and get this thing right.
Great.
You're probably 60% there already.
I think we can have this or document, and the document itself could be more detailed, but maybe we just have bullet points, like you said, 15% of the project cost will be ineligible, and or.
But even the word ineligible, what does that mean, right? It's
Yeah.
an educational process, because people out in the public have no clue what that means.
You
I
need
hate
like
to say it.
you need like a glossary and like a list. You do, and it's quick, and you probably already have it. It's just, so it's not a one pager. It's but yeah, some sort of glossary to set the tone.
Okay.
any other questions or comments?
I would just say thank you for this, because I thought we were a lot greater than 32 million. Just doing it in my head.
Well, I mean,
This doesn't scare me as much,
right. I mean, there are.
even if you add the 11 up top or 12 up top.
Yeah, there are other costs that, I mean, that will, MSBA only participates in a certain percentage of the project.
Correct.
So, we do have that total of about 100 million or so that is going to be on the town side. But this is what is reflected in the overage of square footage.
Yeah, we need to have some kind of explanation of all that, I think. Because if people think, oh, all the town has to pay is 32 mil.
Right. I mean, I think that maybe this chart gets accompanied by another one that talks
Yeah.
about
The whole
Total project
construction
cost.
The whole
caps,
project cost.
site
Yeah.
caps, those kinds of things.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments regarding this chart? Thank you, Lynn.
The only thing I would comment, Joe, one last comment, and I guess I get concerned that we put this out too early. That the cost, everybody's first number is what they remember. I'm wondering if we shouldn't wait till we get to schematic design and we get our CM on board and our numbers are more solid before we start presenting numbers. Because we don't know whether these numbers are even close to what we're going to be going to town meeting with. So doesn't mean we stop any of this. I throw that out there now as a thought.
What do you think of that, Lynn?
I don't know. I mean, we're going to be. Well, let me think about that, I guess. I mean, I think we need to start, we have to start getting information out. And I think that's what I'm hearing from the PAC as well. They need something to start talking about the project about. So I think that the problem is all of these documents are going to evolve as we move forward. And if we're going to constantly get hit with, well, that's not what you said on July 14th.
So
Somehow we're
maybe,
going to have to explain that we're
yeah,
We'll be continuing to evolve the project.
Yeah, I mean, we could say, look at the asterisk, it says these numbers will be evolving. But
Right.
no, even like the letter, even like the article that Mark Sedell wrote in the item, right? It was based on a public forum conversation,
Right.
you know, so that's the stuff that scares me. And we don't know what the numbers are going to be coming back as. And so if we say, this is the number 32 million and it turns into 40, well, you said it was going to be 32. What did you do? You know, so I just wait. So that's all. Let's just, before we rush into things, let's make sure we understand what the impact might be.
Yeah, you have to balance it against people saying we're withholding information versus, you know,
Yeah.
dealing
Yeah.
with the fact that
Dealing with reality that they don't
Right.
understand it. Yeah.
Well, they could watch this meeting. It's being recorded, you know, it's not where we're withholding. I think if there's a rush to get information to the PAC, let's say, you could send out an executive summary that there's so much space that's over and just explain, and, you know, give them some of the basic lead up, and that we're working on a more intricate matrix to come out soon. So you give them some initial info so they have something, and then just let them know we're working on the more inclusive document. So if there's a rush, if someone's pressuring you for stuff, is
no, I just
Yeah.
sensitive to the fact that people want information to be able to
Sure.
talk about the project with.
Yeah, we don't want to give them bad information, right? So they understand that. I know Andy and I forget the other guy's name. I'm sure they would understand that too. So
Okay, any other questions, comments? All right, Lynn.
I don't know, Brian, do you have something?
I have some plans to share. Joe, if you could give me co-host superpowers, that would be great.
I generally don't give my superpowers to anyone. I have given it to you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So in the spirit of, I like the term that Helen dropped a couple of minutes ago about iteration. So we're going to see a lot of iteration through schematic design phase and a lot of evolution. We currently have a very active, team in multiple disciplines working closely and in person now, and are building up basically a base for us to iterate on top of. So what we've done most recently is to take the plan that was part of the PSR documents, and we have converted that into a digital model. So we now have a building information model that will be the source of a lot of the materials you'll see from here on out. And that is a three-dimensional model that we can at some points sort of take tours through and get some exciting views. But before we do any of that, we've got to sort of establish the plans and develop the plans in sort of a working manner. So again, this is the base. This is sort of the old Hubble telescope, if you will. And we're going to move to the new the Webb telescope that just sent pictures back to NASA, which is a fascinating thing if you're into that. So again, these are—
Ellen, do you have to deal with him every day?
Yes, she does. So you've seen these before, but these are a sort of cleaner depiction of what you've already seen. And we know during the PSR, there were several issues that were identified that we need to look more closely at. We had a design charrette last week, mainly between architectural and site teams to really start brainstorming not only the known issues, such as the central office that's below the phys ed and gym, how tight the loading dock area is, And generally this end of the building, the north half of the building, you know, being one that we want to try to focus on first and see how much we can kind of whittle down in terms of the building mass so that we make our lives easier for site access, for construction, for a lot of things, but without diminishing the quality of the plan at all. So we have established this now as our working plan. And again, this is really just an update of where we are. We're not looking for any big decisions tonight or direction. If you see us doing anything that you think should be off limits, do just let us know. The main thrust of this is the idea that we want to get district office out from under the gym. So what we've proposed here is potentially moving the fitness studio down and multi-purpose room down to level 1, where that makes a lot more sense acoustically. You don't have spaces below them. And that move allows us to move the gym over, so it's then abutting the common space on level 2. So not only do we get district office out over to the end of the building with some frontage for like a storefront, if you will, but we're able to activate one side of the dining commons with you know, the weight room and potentially a space that's used for yoga and multiple different functions. It does take those 2 spaces away from the direct adjacency with the gym, but it does put them now directly next to the locker rooms. So there are some trade-offs with doing that. We've not resolved all of the sort of pushes and pulls on the end of the building with a receiving area that might be detached from the custodial wing that wants to be perhaps or can be under the gym, but we're connecting that with a corridor and carving out a loading dock area at the end of the building. We're looking at potentially different ways that the loading dock could function, either with trucks backing straight in or trucks driving by and then backing sort of into a niche within the center of the north end of the building. So again, that is very much in progress. We're studying that with the site team and all the dimensions of that. We have a program that gives us the geometry of turning trucks, and we test that on the plan, and we'll continue to do that. One other thing we're trying to do here is maybe compress the overall dimension from top to bottom of this wing. The gym and the auditorium are going to be have a limit to how much we can sort of squeeze them, but there's a zone in the middle that might yield a few more feet, if you will. So we're going to try to make this as efficient and compact as possible on the north end. So this is where we've put kind of the majority of our effort to date, not only building up the model, but creating, you know, an iteration that we think starts to solve a couple of those bigger issues that we heard about. Obviously, we need to see it on the site plan, which will happen in a few weeks. There are a lot of interrelated things on the interior that we'll be working through in the plans leading up to that time. As I go to second floor, we're also looking at, so you can see the gym has slid over so that, and we would put the entry a multiple set of double doors on this corner, and we've moved the stair to the other side of the common space. So circulation would be more coming across this bridge element and encountering at the corner your way into the gym for larger crowds. And that's the lobby that's shared with the upper auditorium. We've put culinary arts up here, which school leadership has responded fairly positively in this week's leadership meeting about that location, because right now I believe it's a somewhat hidden space. This would be more visible. There is sort of a service or point of service aspect to the culinary arts piece that could front onto that lobby. It could be used for concessions, et cetera. We're also pairing it with health classrooms, which is kind of a natural overlap. One of those situations where the health program can teach nutrition and go next door into culinary arts and see how that works in practice in terms of preparing a meal. They're also right adjacent to the gym where they can observe, physical activities and do testing and whatnot. So health classrooms are more visible also. And this is all right across the way from potentially the humanities wing, where social studies is another nice connection with culinary art. I didn't expect to even say that much about this move, but even just doing that little bit has made this plan better. And I think that what we'll see is this corridor start to become populated with a bit more program. We'll try to decant some out of the other side and activate this corridor. There's a need for storage, which right adjacent the gym, so there might be some pocketed in there. And so that's kind of where we are. The auxiliary gym remains on the end of the building. It's not active during the day, so that's why it's possible that central office could work underneath it. We are also looking at the possibility central office might move to the south end of the building. That's got implications on the site plan access. It also would displace some of the classroom program up into the school, which we're not at this moment prepared to talk through sort of how that knock-on effect plays out. But we do intend in the meeting coming up in 2 weeks to be talking about more design focused issues, and we'll have some better design materials for you to consider about classroom neighborhoods for one, and also that common space and how we envision the character of that space starting to develop. That's the basic snapshot of where we are right now. I'm happy to answer any questions about our process or any of the content.
Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, hi, Brian, Wayne Hardacre. Can you go back to the lowest level? A long time ago, we had a meeting with the light department, and they want to put in a natural gas auxiliary generator. Have you spotted that on this drawing anywhere?
We have not. It would be in the area of the loading dock.
Yeah, where is the main electrical room too?
It would be somewhere near the loading dock as well. Typically, the water service and main electrical would be
that's
over on that end.
To be determined.
To be determined. I believe we had a utility, sort of schematic in our PSR submission, but that is another piece where we're actually reaching out to the utilities to get their feedback on, where they see the service best being brought to the site. But typically we have the main rooms near the loading dock.
All right, thank you.
Eric Lambiaso.
Yeah, I appreciate the district offices being moved out of the footprint of the gym, being underneath it. It does feel a little bit like it's located in a back of house area now, sandwiched between loading dock and custodial.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and is why I started to mention the possibility of looking for a more, gracious location, which the first idea that comes to mind is over on the south end of the building, over way to the left. So it would be very distinct, and it would be very visible when you first enter the project. The main sort of driveway off of Hemlock is sort of up in that left corner. But again, we're confronted with a bit of a space issue in terms of getting the vehicle access and having a bit of parking out in front of it. But we're going to look at that, and we'll come back to you with a more complete set of options in a future meeting. I appreciate that comment. I agree with it, actually.
Phil?
Okay, so level 1, WCAT, is that a TBD of space? The only way to get in and out is through within the school. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna need exterior or that.
There will be exterior. Yeah, we're in the process of dropping indoors and it just is missing at this point, but definitely it would have an outdoor access.
And have you spoken to them about their needs in terms of their trucks and equipment and access to the loading dock, or just because they're on ground level now? So I don't know, I don't know if a discussion has happened with them about what they're gonna need.
We had, sorry.
Yep.
We had initial discussions with them in general terms, and they talked more about the space they have. We plan to meet again with them during this phase. And I would think we can do that in the first half of the phase before we get pricing documents together. And we do intend to talk through a lot of the technical aspect of it. We also want to have input on the school side about how that shared studio space might work. So that's definitely a critical one that we want to follow through with.
Okay, my second comment has to do with the loading dock. Have you spoken to the facilities and the custodial staff on how that loading dock gets used now? How many trucks, the size of trucks, like in terms of your discussion about how to possible, have you had that discussion with the school department about that?
Yeah, it's another one that typically we get into that level of detail during this phase, and we'll reach out to Tim and his team. We're going to make some assumptions based on other similar sized schools to begin with. And then it usually works best to have, to show something and have a couple of options as we discuss it, so that, we are not sort of talking in the clouds, that we're looking at the real space that we have to work with, and we can get down to, what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, the high school feeds a lot of other schools, so that just size alone comparably may not, if they, just the operations could be different. And then on level 3, just I know one of the programming or breakout sessions that we discussed, like future growth, like a school has to be built to be able to someday maybe build again, like to make it bigger. So like on level 3, I'm assuming things would go up. What is that even being thought of nowadays in this stage, or where the future growth would be located in terms of the structural framing of it?
Yeah, so we definitely have to have a strategy for that, and some of the shifting of the program might influence that a little bit. For example, if we put central office on this end, we might have to build up to this level where we currently show a terrace. And the terrace might have been an expansion area in the future that we could just make the structure robust, that you could add another level there, and a floor and a roof. We're going to get creative about that, given the preciousness of space here. But I think it's a great thing to keep on our radar.
Yeah, being part of the police station public safety project, and the limitations on expanding that building as needed, it's just so critical that this is the time to make sure you have the bones in place for that future. We're expecting the structure to last. So just that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil, for the reminder.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, and Brian and Helen.
Go ahead.
The question I have is, we could sit here and talk the next 3 hours for things we see on this plan that may or may not need to get adjusted, or comments we would have. Are there going to be opportunities for breakout groups, to look at the gyms, to look at the music center, into the minutia, into the weeds, right? So that you don't.
Yes.
And when is that going to happen, and how is that going to happen?
So the way we envision it happening is basically in 2 parts. So there's a first half of the phase wherein, it's summertime. We don't have, educators in the building through the summer. but we've talked with senior leadership about structuring meetings if we need them for certain folks to look at plans and to give us feedback. We're also using that Wednesday meeting, Wednesday mornings with senior leadership to review progress. So we reviewed these plans yesterday, and we'll continue as we progress to get guidance on a weekly basis on those items, and school leadership is there. After we submit the pricing documents, or maybe during that time, the teachers and staff will be coming back in September. So we'll have about 8 weeks from that point to be able to have more detailed sessions with educators and staff, and we'll have a set of plans to talk through, and we can get into a lot of detail there. That's our plan to go in and have those more detailed meetings in the second half of the phase, when we're getting sort of into that level of detail. In the first half, we're looking for direction from senior leadership, from this building committee. And if we have to bring people in for specific questions on specialties or specialization, we're going to speak up and ask for that.
So I guess, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest, or maybe Brian and Helen or Lynn and whomever, that possibly we put together because you're looking for the PBC to give you input. I could go on for 2 hours right now. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that in this type of large group. So I'm wondering if it would make sense to do a working group or something, Joe.
Yeah.
That could then get into the minutia a little bit.
We do have a focus group associated with, the educational programming and layout. So we'll have to make sure that, I believe there are PBC, SBC members on it. But that is one of the groups that.
But that was for the design. You're now getting into schematic design. You're now getting into the, that was for the big picture. Now you're getting into where do doors go? How do you get sets onto the stage? What does the green room look like? Where is it? How do actors get in and out onto the stage? Do you have room for flats stored somewhere? I mean, there's in the gyms, how do the 3 courts work? Are they, there's thousands of questions that I quickly see, having built not numerous, but having built gyms, having built auditoriums, having built classrooms for schools in my past, that I question here. And I don't want to spend 2 hours tonight doing it, but I do want to ask the questions and get the input. So I'm questioning how and when to do that.
Yeah, the question is going to be when during this process is a good time to do that. Obviously, I think it might be a little too early at this stage, but Brian, what do you think is a good time for that to be done?
I think it can be done incrementally. So, for example, in 2 weeks when we present classroom neighborhoods, so we'll have some progress on that in next week's leadership meeting. And I think it would be useful to get some feedback, on some options at that point that we can then bring to this group and say, here's the feedback that we got, and deal with it that way in sort of a thematic way. So at that point, it would be classroom neighborhoods and dining commons, and then 2 weeks after that, it would be media center and entry access and admin, things like that. So we can give you a basic list of those areas that we are intending to focus on, and then try to structure the review based on that.
Okay. All right, Lynn, will you set that up?
I think the answer to Chip's question, though, is that these are the meetings right now.
I mean, you want to spend
and
do you want to spend 3 hours tonight doing it, or do you
Not
want to
on
have
the plans,
a
Chip.
smaller group at another time?
No, these are early schematic, right? So, but if you see things, big things, we do want to hear them. Big things. Are things in the right location?
Okay, how do you get sets
Right.
onto the stage? Where's the set of double doors going onto the stage?
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, there
So-
isn't one.
Yeah, it's these plans are not ready for that degree of
Level.
That's what I'm asking. When do you want to start having the minutia conversations?
not
But at
yet.
the same point, if you
In the
keep
next meeting.
going on this, and this is what you think is okay, then you're gonna get so far down the road, you're gonna be like, I gotta redesign the whole thing.
Yeah, in the next
That's
meeting.
what I'm trying to, I don't know that this group is the right group to have those conversations. I'm happy to, but it seems like it should be kind of more of a smaller group, smaller thought process. I mean, I've got lots of thoughts about wrestling rooms and weight rooms and size and
Chip, are you able to make the leadership meetings on
a
Wednesday?
meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning on
That's
a
hard.
weekday for guys that, this is not my job.
Right,
It was at one point, but it's not now. It's
Right.
difficult for me.
right.
I have to sneak away into a corner and get on my phone. And then when it goes for an hour or two, people are wondering, and my guys are wondering where I am.
Right, right.
So it is difficult. I can try, but it's never guaranteed of what's happening. I'm just trying to figure out, when do we have those conversations of those things that you see that are kind of more minutia, but might be helpful.
I would think that as we look at these, we should look at it by area, and that we can send out an enlarged plan of the area as it starts to develop and send it out to everyone and take comments that way. And then when we get to the PBC meeting, we can talk about how we may have incorporated or not incorporated comments and why. And, at that point, we've received the comments, and the group can say why it is the way it is at this point, and then take additional comments from the PBC as a whole.
Lynn, I suggest that what we try to do at next Wednesday's meeting is to set up some kind of structure in that regard, as far as how things are going to go forward in the next month and a half, to allow the opportunity for members of the PBC to, discuss things, and we can figure out some times, whatever. All right?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
I mean, I know on the ZBA, we create working groups to discuss
Right.
projects offsite, and then bring it back to the full
Right. And we
committee.
can't.
Right,
we can't-
right. Yeah, but we do have an educational group, and if you should be on that, we should add you. It'd be nice to get the educational expertise and the technical planning expertise that you're bringing, Chip, all together so that each hears the other. So I don't want to create silos.
I guess maybe then once you get those meetings set, if you publish those meetings
Mhm.
and when they're occurring, then people from the PBC, it may be a different group now that you're at this stage, that you start talking about, fume hood relocations back to back and stupid stuff like that, stuff that may not be pertinent when you're talking about to get here, but may be pertinent moving forward. That's all.
Mhm.
I know you guys know what you're doing, but
And
Yeah.
it's a bit of a moving target, so.
it is.
It
That-
is,
The
as you
word
hear,
iteration means
Right.
we're gonna be moving things around, and as long as everyone knows that is the
Right.
case, then I think we can succeed.
but that being said, it sounds like you already have a short list. And so if it does make sense for you to send us your list, or these plans will be available to this group, just keep sending the comments, Chip. You don't have to wait necessarily for this meeting. Get us thinking, keep us thinking.
I'll keep challenging it. Don't worry.
Right.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. Lynn?
Next up is the site investigations. I think, is Aaron going to take this?
I am. This should be brief. Hello, everyone. This plan before you identifies in yellow the probes that were previously completed in feasibility study. All of the red dots represent borings, additional geoprobes, and test pits, some of which were completed this week. The test pits are going to be completed in 2 weeks. And then in addition, radon gas testing is underway. So we have completed geoenvironmental probes. Everything is, of course, has been sampled, but is now being sent to labs and being tested. But there was some no obvious visual observations of any sort of petroleum in the areas where tanks were believed to be or have once been, and so that is good news. Of course, I just want to caution that we're testing the soil, so waiting for those results. And borings were completed, 3 in the footprint of the track, and a total of 8 were completed around the site. Those were completed today, so I don't have too much to update on those specifically, but as our consultants complete their analysis, we'll be before you again to update the group on the findings. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Aaron.
Sure.
Lynn?
I have a couple more slides to share, so I'm going to share mine one more time. We have an update for you on the CM procurement. Tim, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So since our last meeting on June, oh, the slide went away.
Yeah, hold on.
June,
I'll
yeah.
get there. Oops.
Oh, there. Since our last meeting on June 16th, the CM selection subcommittee met to pre-qualify the 5 firms that submitted statements of qualification. They pre-qualified all 5 firms, which is Bond, Consigli, Schematic, Skanska, and Suffolk. Since that time, this previous Monday, July 11th, we held a in-person walkthrough of the school and grounds with the potential firms. In attendance was myself, Brian and Aaron from SMMA, and Tim O'Brien from facilities. It was a pretty routine walkthrough. The only thing to take of note is that Consigli did not attend the walkthrough. Lynn can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the Consigli team that was proposed for Wakefield is currently working on Waltham, and they were just awarded Revere High School, if I have that correct. So I imagine that they will not be submitting a proposal. So I think we will ultimately be left with 4 firms: Bond, Schematic, Skanska, and Suffolk. Bond, Skanska, and Suffolk seem all very, very eager to bid on this project. They sent 6 people each to the walkthrough, which was a lot, in my opinion. And they were very keen to ask questions. I did get a call today from Christian Reardon, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Suffolk. We had mentioned on the walkthrough that we were considering doing interviews in reverse alphabetical order on July 26th and the 27th. Christian reached out to me because he wants John Fish, who's the owner of Suffolk, to be present at the interview. And John is not available on June 26th, which is when Suffolk would have gone. So he requested if we could change them to June 27th. And Lynn and I don't have any objection to that. So I'm mentioning it here just in case anyone does.
I guess I do. I don't. I mean, there's Suffolk playing Suffolk again, right? Suffolk thinks they rule the world. Don't let them determine when they get to go. You set up a schedule. John can't make it. Oh, well, either something's more important or, I guess I'm okay if you really want to switch into the 27th, but you know, don't let them start controlling what you decide to do. And when do we find out whether Consigli's going or not?
I've been
And what
playing
would you do?
phone.
Just switch Consigli and Suffolk?
Yes.
So I would not want to have two on, if we have a choice, I would want to do 3 on Monday and then do 1 on Tuesday and then have more time for discussion. That would be my hope.
So then it would be Skanska, Shaman, and Bond on the Tuesday, and Suffolk on.
No, I don't.
No, I don't think you should play
No.
to Suffolk. Suffolk gets a we determine when Suffolk interviews.
Okay.
Is my opinion.
Okay. That's fine with me. I can tell him that.
Like Chip, it's Phil. I get what you're saying, but we're probably down to 4 now for this huge project. Like, it's not a huge deal, it sounds like, to change the date. Like, I know what you're saying and I get it. I'm just saying, like, we want to attract people to this project. I don't think it's a huge ask if we have the space to have them reschedule. So I don't know.
I would agree with Phil. If it becomes difficult, then we can push back on them. But
Well,
at this,
I think the thing we got to find out though is Consigli going to do it?
Well, assuming, all right, we need to know that too.
We need to know that.
Right.
Well, I guess what you could do is if you wanted, if you wanted this.
No, not everybody at once. Hold on.
I have been told off the record that they won't, but.
Well, see if you can get it on the record.
But the thing is, they have up until July 20th to submit a proposal. So I don't think that we should even be talking about this right now.
Okay.
It's not appropriate. We're talking about rumors at this point.
All right, well, let's wait till the 20th. And then we'll make.
But you have to send something out for them to you have to.
Not till we get their proposals on the 20th.
Oh, okay. So
wait.
They don't know when they're being asked to interview at this point?
No, they don't. We just asked them to set aside 2 dates. And Suffolk preempted that by saying, could we have the second date versus the first date? That's all. I mean, we have not given anybody any schedule. People haven't submitted their proposals yet. So we're
let's see what happens.
We're talking about this way too early.
All right, let's wait till the 20th.
That's pretty much it for the update.
Well, this is a schedule that's
correct.
Yeah.
So, right. So we weren't going to notify them till July 20th because that's when the proposals are due. And, for some reason we might, another firm might not submit. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Right.
We have 2 nights, first and second night. And then the key for this group to take away is Thursday, July 28th. That is when the subcommittee will be bringing their selection for full committee approval.
That vote is the permanent building committee.
Correct. Oh, you want me to take out SPC?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what our charter is.
Got it.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly go over a few important dates for the schematic design schedule. We will be building other information around, other meetings around these dates, but the key ones to note are that we're working hard to put the schematic design together to a point where we can send them out to estimators on September 2nd. And then again, we'll be pushing hard to get the costs back from the estimators and reconciled by September 26th, so that we can start to present the costs to the PBC. We have a requirement to submit to MSBA 14 days in advance of our schematic design submission what our proposed budget is going to be. And that date is October 13th. So we need to get the schematic design put together, get the cost in, put a draft together and out to the PBC in enough time to give them time to look at it so that we can make our project notification to MSBA on October 13th. And then the schematic design submission is due on October 27th. So that's in anticipation of a December 21st MSBA Board of Directors approval. And interspersed in that, we plan to have 3 public forums at the very end of each of those phases that I talked about. Public forum on August 24th, I believe, right at the end, right before we submit the schematic design documents to the estimators. Then we plan to have another one at the end of September 28th, which is right after we have the cost reconciliation and we have cost information available to share. And then we plan to have another public forum on October 19th, right before we make our schematic design submission to MSBA. It'll take a lot of meetings and a lot of work to achieve these milestones. So we'll be adding meetings in along the way. Right now, we know we have a couple meetings that we want to progress pretty quickly, and that is we want to get a meeting with the town engineer, legal counsel, in regards to Hemlock Road realignment. We want to come back to the PBC with information on what it means to include that realignment in this project and how it might affect schedule and cost. So first we wanted to see where the town wants to go in that regard, and then we'll come back to you and talk to you about what the outcome of that is. There's about a year's worth of permitting, a significant amount of cost involved in order to progress the Hemlock Road realignment as part of this project. Then we also have another meeting that's getting set up where we've included the Wakefield Environmental Subcommittee or committee members, as well as Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light, the town engineers, the town building department, and the school facilities department. And that is in regards to MEP discussions and selections, most particularly the all electric. I know there was a lot of questions about whether that was something that the town might want to go with, and SMMA is looking to set up a meeting with Cambridge Public Schools so that the town can ask questions and talk to them about their experiences with all electrical mechanical systems. So those are 2 things that are coming up quickly. We really need to get to the point where we've selected building systems before we submit the schematic design submission. So that's, only 6 or 7 weeks away. So again, we'll be peppering in other meetings in between these key meetings in order to make sure we get the information we need to put together the schematic design submission.
And regarding the meeting with Cambridge and the all electric,
yes,
I want to make sure that that when the meeting is scheduled, that any member of the PBC or the school building committee is invited to attend as well, please.
Okay. We copied you on the distribution. We put you on the distribution list, and I think that if you want me to copy everybody on the.
Well, we haven't got a date yet, so once we get a date.
Well, right. We're polling everybody for a date, so that's.
We're gonna get the dates from Cambridge first.
Right.
Get a couple of options, poll the core group, and then invite everyone. All right.
Yep.
That's good. Okay. And so that's all I have for the schematic design schedule update. I don't know if MSBA has anything to add, or SMMA has anything to add to that.
You're giving us so much power.
I know. I've had 2 conversations with MSBA today. So.
Oh boy. I don't I don't have anything else. Brian or Erin, do you have anything for the group?
Thanks.
Okay. And then you saw this in the last public safety building, but just noting the change in July of the 14th and the 28th. And right now we're still holding the 11th and 25th for the PBC meetings for August. I think they kind of, those dates work well with where we should be with progress. So I just want to keep that on everybody's mind because I know it's summertime, so. And that's all I have.
All right. I want to indicate to everybody that it's my understanding that if the legislature does not act, the remote meetings will be changed to in-person meetings. I think the last day for the remote meetings to be allowed for public meetings is tomorrow.
Really?
So I assume that they're probably going to act, but I don't know yet. So that is just something to be aware of. I wanted to let everybody know that we may have to have in-person meetings in 2 weeks if the legislature doesn't act.
I believe, did he say it could be a hybrid?
Right, but there has to be some, I think, physical presence.
Right, I
Are
think
we
a
gonna-
third.
Yeah, I think it was 1/3 had to be in person, according to the email.
We gonna rent out a function hall?
Yeah.
There's a lot, like there's 19 people that were at the start of the meeting, so.
I know.
Okay.
That's why I'm letting everybody know that this could be an issue.
Angelo's has a nice downstairs room in Stoneham, but that's out of town, so probably.
And that's for about 12 people, so.
Oh, okay.
Meet at the high school.
Are there any other questions, comments? Anyone else have anything? All right, so the next meeting is for the PBC and the school building committee is in 2 weeks on the 28th, which at that time we'll be voting on the CM at risk, and there will be other updates, I'm quite sure. All right.
I move that we adjourn.
I hope there's a second and everybody knows where to click leave meeting.
Second.
You got it. Thanks, Tom. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, bye.